Hello, everybody, and welcome to our LinkedIn Live session today. My name is Chirajit, but you can call me CJ. Together, we have with me Abhishek Mundra, dialing in from New York, and Yugal Joshi, dialing in from New Delhi, Gurgaon. We are here to talk about the retail and CPG industry and the unique trade offs that the industry faces today. Before we get started, just a couple of notes. Um, Please feel free to interact with us through the comment section. Type in your comments. This is really about having a great discussion for the next 30 minutes or so. Um, and with that, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are dialing in from. Which, by the way, is kind of interesting. Where's everybody dialing in from today? Why don't you just comment on the window on your screen and just let us know where everybody is dialing in from today? While you do that, let me get this show started. So, Abhishek, we are here to talk about the future of the retail and CPG industry, and just as big, broad headlines. What do you think is happening today? We hear so many comments about the disruption that the industry is going through and has been going through with the advent of digital channels. The last 3 years have been such a roller coaster of ups and downs with the pandemic, with supply chain disruptions, inflations. So, what's really going on? What's your take on the industry today?
Yeah, thank you, CJ, and hi everyone. And I see we have 44 people so far who have joined this conversation, and I also see a lot of comments in the section. We have quite a few knowns joining this conversation. We have Nilendu joining in from California. Hi, Nilendu. Hey, Ronak is also here. Hey, hi, Ronak.
Here
Uh,
are
okay, great. CJ, I think to your question around retail and CPG industry, like it's a quite a fascinating industry, right? In terms of, uh, this is the industry that is closest to its end customers, right? And in terms of the kind of changes that are happening in the industry from not only from a technology standpoint, but what you see from a consumer preferences standpoint, that's quite tremendous, right? Over the last 2 3 years, and especially during pandemic, so much has changed in terms of the not only from a business standpoint where retail and CPG enterprises uh, have started rethinking about their business model and doing direct to customer, doing increasing their footprint on the digital commerce side, but also from a customer preferences standpoint, right? The overall bar for expectations within the industry has gone up quite significantly, right? In terms of your delivery time expectations, what earlier used to be a 1 day or 2 day, now the last mile delivery enterprise and the customers expect it to be what 10 minutes now. Those things are quite fascinating, and what all of this has done is, it has forced these retailers and CPG enterprises to rethink their operating model, the IT operating model as well, which means essentially balancing the technology and that overall uh, business model aspects of things, right? So you talk about supply chain modernization, you talk about overall supply chain efficiencies. I think those are key focus areas in the industry today. Yugal, anything to add?
No, I think Abhishek, you covered it well, and I really like the point that you made that this is one of the most relatable industry because it impacts people like us and everyone. We get our food from this industry, the clothes we are wearing, so it's very close to us as an end customer as well, and that is what is very fascinating. And to CJ's earlier point that last 2 3 years have been crazy, and it's very interesting to see that uh, the consumer sentiment that compared to pre-pandemic is actually worse now. And we might have thought that okay, once we are coming out of pandemic, people will be more happy and all, which they are. But what has happened is all the macroeconomic conditions that CJ also alluded to around, be it inflation, geopolitical tensions, and issues around wage stagnation has impacted this industry as well. CJ, what's the take on this around, when we analyze some of these large retailer firms as we have on the screen based on their performance? What did we unearth?
Yeah, so the chart that you see here, that's basically a sample set of some of the biggest names in the retail industry. And when you look at how they've performed, their revenues have grown, but their margins have declined significantly, right? And if you look at their margins, even in percentage terms, it's almost halved over the last, 3 quarters. And that's kind of crazy if you really think about it. And then that puts into sharp focus the trade-offs that people have to make. The industry really has to strive to a far higher level of customer expectations, because that's the reality all of us live in. You made the point around 10-minute deliveries. Yeah, that's the level of excellence we are striving forward. All right. At the same time, there is a very strong mood of, hey, we have to do more with less, right? And that creates a certain tension. uh, for those of you who are in the audience and listening into this, and if you are participating in the retail industry either directly or indirectly, what do you think are your top priorities? If you think of one or two of your biggest priorities currently as part of the retail industry, why don't you just hit that comment section and write in your responses, and we'll love to take your inputs on board as well.
Yeah, yeah. And CJ, while our audience comes back with their comments, I think one observation from a expectation standpoint that I have that I've seen in the market is around this growth and efficiency you know discussion, right? They want to achieve growth, but at the same time they want to be more efficient, and then you bring in the aspect of experience. So they want to grow, they want to be more efficient, and they want to deliver best experiences for their end customer. I think balancing all of these three together is getting quite difficult for a lot of enterprises in this industry today.
Yeah, that's a great point you're making. But let me also throw this back at Abhishek, you and Yugal, and also the audience, right? Do you really think that I get it that sometimes there are really difficult trade-offs to be made between efficiency and experience, but if I really think about it, can't we make a store experience very efficient and thereby give a better experience to the customer, right? Are we seeing examples like that? What are you seeing on the ground?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first, right? I think uh, store experience and store operations, right? When it comes to, I think automation is a overarching and a very strong has seen a very strong growth in the retail and CPG industry. And if you see over the last few years, what has happened is a lot of investments has gone into expanding store operations, and at the same time making those operations more and more efficient. So you have things like self checkout, wherein uh, you're trying to make the entire store operations more and more human free. I think that's an interesting growth story that we see across majority of the retailers.
Which is a very interesting point, right? I mean, think about it. At the end of the day, irrespective of the tech use, retail especially is fundamentally a people's business. When you have so many people hired across not only corporate offices and big branches, but you have so many stores, it impacts and it influence. It's one of the largest hiring segment. So then, for all of the RCPG enterprises to balance their, which goes back to our balance argument, to balance their technology initiatives with people perspective as well, I think that will be critical. And to CJ's point, if I see some of the things that, let's say, Unilever has done in building some of its intelligent systems, where they are using it across both their digital as well as physical channels to manage inventory, to delist some of their SKUs, and that's a big cost saver. Which brings to this slide. We asked some of the large and mid-size retail and CPG companies about their 23 priorities. And I'm sure people who have spent enough time in this industry may not may not find anything earth-shattering here, because yes, these have been very important for them. But the context has changed. So what does it mean? Let's say cost optimization, right? Now, we saw what CJ showed earlier, that the revenue has grown, but most of the revenue growth has come from inflation, in the sense that the prices have been passed on to the customer. But RCPG companies know that cannot go on forever. Second is, as I said earlier, customers are little bit on shaky grounds, thinking about their own future. We saw and we continue to see what is happening in the labor market. The wages are not keeping up with the inflation, which means RCPG companies have to become a lot more optimized internally, so that they can create value for the customer without burdening them with increase of price constantly. And I think we spoke about supply chain modernization as well. Some of them have overlays. So for example, if I sort of link supply chain with purposeless retail, we have seen, right, circular economy has had tremendous influence on the RCPG industry. In some of the regions, there are already laws, or if not, they will come, where CPG companies will be mandated, okay, track where all of the input to your product came from, so that people know, okay, where you are sourcing. So that ethical sourcing part is also very important. And on the expansion of ecosystem play, this is one of my favorite. I think, to be fair, Amazon probably ended up creating this expectation, right? When a retailer can become the largest cloud vendor in the world, what prevents other retail and CPG companies to do something so dramatic? Okay, adjacencies, all of them have tried to explore. But are there areas such as, let's say, retail media network or financial services, which some of these companies can explore and then go beyond their core of just being an RCPG company? Last but not the least, and I'll have both of you to comment on it. I think technology talent, of course, it's is extremely important. In addition to technology talent, building talent in itself, because as I said, retail specifically is a very uh, human intensive business. So how do you build those people who are communicating to the customers on a daily basis in a store? How do you upskill them? How do you hire them? There's a lot of attrition now. I think it has ebbed, but okay, how do you generally upskill all of your talent specifically around technology? Because as we will discuss going forward, the role of technology is going to be absolutely critical and important in this in industry. So CJ, care to share some perspectives on this?
Sure. No, I've been listening intently. It's been fascinating listening to you and Abhishek, and I've, very insightful questions and comments from our audience here. So I'll just take a minute to summarize some of my thoughts and what I crystallized listening and reading all the questions. So I think, first up, there's a lot of comments around pricing and inflation. So we have Vijay asking us about what's the reason behind the pricing, and what's really happening there. So I think it's also been a little bit of bad timing, Vijay. What we saw was that uh, once the supply chain issues got resolved, that's exactly when the broader macro went for a little bit of a downturn, and a lot of retailers were faced with excess inventory, right? Which seemed to be, just when they had overcome the supply chain challenges and they got what they wanted. And that was a little bit of a double whammy, if you will. And then we also have the broader inflationary issues around wage inflation and the lack of talent generally in developed markets. And Bradley is talking about that, right? So, and that has led to this drive towards self-service, efficiency, leading to improved experience in many situations. And I think what that brings me to is Abhishek Yugal, what you guys were discussing, right? If we can go back to one of the slides you guys were projecting, what we were really talking about, that these are not necessarily mutually exclusive. So you could do supply chain modernization leading to cost optimization, right? Uh, Purpose-led retail, the whole concept of sustainability, that again has a deep implication of on all parts of the value chain, including the supply side ecosystem, the supply chain modernization. So we are seeing initiatives where retailers are focusing on optimizing the carbon footprint of their supply chains by trying to source more locally, right? And that creates ripple effects in terms of the cost of procurement, the cost of the supply chain, right? Um, so the and that goes back to I'm trying to answer Timothy's question around where do we see retailers investing. So there's clearly investments in IT and efficiency, but where we see the bulk of thinking, or the sharp focus in thinking, is can we get synergies whereby we simplify, we consolidate, we optimize, and that has efficiency and cost implications, but also leads to ancillary benefits either in terms of brand or customer experience. And I think that's really where the world is headed, right? So let me also ask folks on the chat if they're seeing some of the similar trends. What are they seeing in terms of retailer and consumer product companies' initiatives?
Yeah,
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 and till the time the audience comes back, I think the difference here in this cost optimization, to the point CJ made, is I think a lot of the RCPG companies are realizing that maxing out, or juicing out of what they have, I think that's not going to work. And what we see fascinating is to achieve this cost optimization. And I think somebody asked about AI. A lot of these companies are willing to invest a lot. For example, Walmart, we were seeing that they had like over 100,000 uh, suppliers, and we saw 1 in 5 of those were just having very standardized contract with them, which were not negotiated well. And then rather than hiring people to do it because it was not beneficial, they actually invested in an AI software. And then and they brought down the time of negotiation to like 11 days or 10 days or so, and then saved a lot of money. So the point is, if the technology is able to show business value, which means to achieve cost optimization, RCPG enterprises are willing to invest. So this goes beyond just brute force cost optimization of taking the juice out of whatever we are doing, but actually investing to get the ROI.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you got what you mentioned about Walmart. I think a lot of the retailers, including Walmart, Kroger's, right? Everyone, each of these retailers have some sort of mandate in terms of their technology vision, that they would want to automate X percentage of their stores by 2025, 2026. So, and that number is 50%, 65%, 70% in many cases. So I think that's really fascinating in terms of the kind of investments around AI and automation some of these retail and CPG enterprises expect to do in the near future. And which brings me to interesting point, right? So for the audience who are joining in this LinkedIn live session, and for the others who will go through it offline and the recorded version of it, we have a executive summary that we have for these guys. If you want to understand about what are the kind of AI and automation use cases that are being prioritized across the entire retail and CPG industry value chain, you can download our summary. From, I think you will see the link in the comment section. Feel free to download, and in case you have any specific questions on any of those use cases, feel free to reach out to us directly. I think apart from like optimization, supply chain modernization, I think you earlier mentioned about ecosystem play, right? Can we stick on the previous slide? Yeah, the expansion of ecosystem play. Now this is interesting, right? As you said, you gave a very good example about how Amazon has created that benchmark of sorts in terms of how can retailers have a play beyond their boundaries. And now I think what we are also seeing is a lot of interesting play happening from a retail media network standpoint, from a financial solutions and services standpoint. And I think the third biggest theme that we see in the retail industry is also around digital services. To be it's interesting to see a lot of retailers having their digital services and technology arm, where they're creating specific solutions and taking to their other retail peers in the industry. That's again, I think, really fascinating to see from a expansion of ecosystem standpoint.
Yeah, and some of the stuff is really cool, right? So, and again, I'm responding to some of the questions and comments that we are hearing from the audience. So, Alfredo is asking us about what are the sustainability priorities. So, we are seeing pretty cool stuff. So, I spoke about sustainable supply chains. We spoke about reducing waste and optimize and trying to develop circular economy benefits within the retail supply chain. We are also seeing use cases where AI is used to optimize warehouses, to control refrigeration, energy consumption, and still ensure fresh stock. So again, you get ripple effects of benefits. You get lower wastage of perishable products. You get lower energy bills. You get a better sustainability impact, right? So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of sustainability use cases that the industry is currently innovating around. And again, there's a lot of room for more. But I think primarily a lot of it is focused around the supply chain, storage, warehousing, probably less from an in-store standpoint, right? But Abhishek, feel free to challenge me on that. What you see?
No, I'm not challenging, but just to add, right, these things which were done before in a very reactive fashion, right? The enterprises have invested into their ERP, and they've implemented a supply chain solution, and then post that they used to think they were thinking about, hey, we need to report carbon footprint as well. Hey, we need to optimize our greenhouse gas emissions as well. But now what is happening in a lot of these new deals and new investment conversations that we are part of, it is interesting to see, a lot of the enterprises are looking things, at the design stage itself. Now when they're designing their finance function for the future, or their supply chain function for the future, they are thinking sustainability first, right? From the day one, that what are the kind of capabilities do I need to build in my finance function or to my underlying data architecture, which makes it easy for me to respond to the ongoing developments from a sustainability reporting, and all the standards that are coming up every year, every quarter. How can I keep up to that, and how do I incorporate some of these in design phase itself? I think that is also really interesting to see.
Yeah. So moving the conversation forward, right? So what do we see, from an IT services standpoint, right? Clearly, we are seeing, and Bradley, again, I fully agree with your comment. We are seeing a lot of aggressive investments towards consolidation of outsourcing constructs, trying to get more efficiencies, trying to get access to talent at scale. I think one of the things we are beginning to see is the fact that it's very, very difficult for the industry today to scale back technology investments, right? Because there's so much that has already been done, and the reality is that business operations and retail operations are so closely interlinked with technology today, any change in operations or any effort to scale out operations or to improve operations requires consistent technology investment. And to that extent, I think we are not necessarily going to see decline in investments, in technology investments or IT services investments. There's potentially deceleration, right? Given the broader macro environment, but we still believe that there's a lot of opportunity and there's a lot of room for continued investment and innovation in IT and IT services. Yugal, what's your thinking on this?
Yeah, yeah. So I think if we move ahead one page, I believe we covered this some of this part. Let's just go to the technology service impact one more page ahead. And when we build this, I was very disappointed, CJ, first. And the reason is, RCPG industry is probably not even double digit when it comes to its share in the overall tech service spend. I was expecting that service providers are growing a lot faster than some of the larger industry verticals. RCPG is growing faster, yes, decelerating, growing faster, but I think they are not growing as fast as they should. And one reason is retail and CPG uses a lot more in-house competence as well compared to probably some of the other industries. But the bigger thing is probably in the next page, where we will discuss one of the key reasons why we see that CPG and enterprises are not spending as much on technology service and consulting companies compared to some of their other industry counterparts. Abhishek, I know uh, you like to rub in things, so why don't you go ahead and talk about this page?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Yugal. So I think when you look at this slide, right, in retail and CPG as an industry, from overall enterprise satisfaction standpoint, is the last, and that doesn't surprise because as I said earlier, right, the level of expectations, right, in terms of the bar for expectation in the retail and CPG industry is relatively higher than something like a energy and utilities or a telecom for that matter, right? And but I think most of the service providers have a from an approach standpoint, they have a similar approach. What they have for energy, what they have for telecom, they have it for retail and consumer as well. Um, I think two or three things stand out distinctively in the services landscape from a satisfaction standpoint. One is definitely around innovation, right? Um, uh, the kind of innovation expectation from enterprises today in the retail and CPG paradigms is very proactive, right? They want their service providers to come to them and tell them that, hey, okay, this is how you need to think about your processes when it comes to sustainability or when it comes to cost optimization or supply chain modernization. But what is right now happening is enterprises are grappling to figure out new concepts. They are thinking, hey, how should we think about chat GPT? How should we think about retail media networks? How should we think about supply chain visibility? So that's coming in more from enterprise side and not coming in from the supply side. So that's one. I think second point is around talent, right? We talked about how talent is very critical in this industry, especially the technology talent we are talking about, the data scientists and the product managers that are super important in this industry. I think somehow the kind of the demand there is in the market today, the supply side is not able to fill into that demand when it comes to that high quality data talent and the high quality product manager talent who can own up the entire product and the solution end to end. I think that's another key pain point, from a enterprise standpoint.
I think one of the things, if I have to add, and this has been a interesting discussion for CJ and me at least, is a reasonable lack of capability shown by a tech service provider to transform RCPG model to a product operating model. I think that has been a challenge. I think this is an industry which is very very much looking forward to create that kind of a model internally. But most often than not, the clients keep telling us, okay, I'm not getting the thought partnership or the service offerings per se. My service provider do not even understand how to talk to a product owner, product manager. They probably haven't even heard of these terms. So I think these are something we have heard from a product operating model, platform operating model. Our CPG enterprises are looking forward to move towards that direction, but I don't think they have got enough support from their tech service partners. CJ, anything to add?
Yeah, I think all the points that you and Abhishek are making are valid, right? So it's a complicated industry. It has a lot of it at stake, and I think a lot of it, the window for recovery if something goes wrong is pretty low in this industry. So it's difficult, it's complicated, right? But at the same time, there are potentially opportunities for improvement for a lot of suppliers who are servicing retail and CPG clients and servicing them with IT services. Again, just for the heck of it, guys, why don't we ask the audience, right? Option one, um, low satisfaction can be explained simply by the fact that retail customers are tough nuts. Option two, suppliers really have a lot more to go, and they have long ways to go to meet what customers are really asking for. Which one do you think it is? Option one, option two? If it is option two, what do you think that suppliers should be doing to make their customers happier in this industry? Leave your thoughts, leave your comments. And while we do that, let me ask Yugal, Abhishek, what would be your advice to service providers in the retail and CPG industry? What should they be focusing on? What should they be trying to impress their clients with?
Yeah, maybe I'll go first and hand it over to Yugal. So one thing is very distinct, right? You mentioned about, and I think Yugal also said about that product-led operating model, uh, and and I think this is the industry that is actively looking out for that and trying to build that internally and with their partners. So, so what makes it interesting that in this particular industry that this product led IP play is also becoming more and more important. So we have seen a lot of service providers doing well in parts of the industry, or some of the verticals such as grocery or specialty retail. They are taking a very industry-led solutioning approach, which means taking some of those, building some of those out of the box industry solutions and taking those to their clients and showcasing the value that can be derived out of those solutions, not only from a time to market perspective, but also from a overall business outcome perspective, the kind of experience delivered or the kind of growth that can be achieved using some of those solutions. So I think this one thing I feel is very critical is the industry specific applications that some of the service providers are investing into and building actively.
Yeah, and I think if you move forward in this page, I believe that's the reason Everest Group as a firm launched this program, specifically focusing on our CPG industry, because we thought that despite the fact this industry at an industry level, at a business level, is reasonably well covered, but clients both on the buy and the supply side are not getting enough perspectives on what is the implication on the technology and the consulting landscape, digital technology, legacy technology, cloud services, metaverse, AI, and so many. And I think, CJ, to your point, we are going to of course discuss some of these in our research as we progress in this journey. And of course, Abhishek has left his email ID on this page as well, that if anyone has any questions about this, please reach out to him, and we will be more than happy to speak with you and then have that conversation. CJ, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great stuff there, everybody. So Everest Group is committed to serving this space. We have a dedicated team and a dedicated research program. We can't do justice to all your excellent questions and comments over this session. Feel free to send in your comments, write to us using LinkedIn directly, or you can write to Abhishek on his email address. We will try and get back to each and every one of you with our thoughts, questions, comments. Love the chat, love the comments, keep them coming. And we'll see you again on our next LinkedIn Live. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.